Alright, in this tutorial we're going to explore how we can use a layer mask and the brush tool to hide pixels on a particular layer and reveal what's underneath. This is helpful because it allows us to go back later and fix mistakes by adding those removed pixels back in a way that the eraser tool or deleting pieces of a layer actually will not do. So let's say, for example, I have a sample image that has on one layer a picture of the outside of Strong School, and on the layer above that a picture of an Aston Martin, which for convenience's sake I will refer to throughout the rest of this video as my new car. Alright, let's say I want to make it look as though my new car are parked outside Strong School. It would be a fairly easy matter to use the eraser tool to get in close and just kind of start erasing the pixels surrounding the Aston Martin so that it looks like it's sitting outside in front of Strong School. Now, the problem with this is that if I make a mistake, oops, you can see here I cut in a little too deep into the hood, and I don't take it back right away, I might end up unable to recover those pixels. For example, if I erase in a lot of little steps, all right, and then I make a mistake, and then I do a few more steps, you can see in my history panel I've used a lot of the 20 steps that I can take back. And so if I were to miss this little mistake on the mirror and I was to erase a few more times or perform a few more actions, I would not be able to get back and take that back. All right? So what I want to do is I want to use a non-destructive edit. And the way that I do that is I use a mask and the brush tool to just brush out and hide the pixels that I don't want to see. All right, to add a layer mask, we select the layer we want. In this case, we use the Aston Martin. And then we come down here to the bottom of the layers panel and we click the button to add a layer mask. You can see it looks like a little box with a white circle in it. That's going to put a layer mask on top of the layer, and it's represented by this thumbnail. And you can see here that I can click and choose to work on either the layer directly or on the layer mask. I want to be careful and make sure I have the right one selected for any given action I'm performing. In this case, we want to have the layer mask selected. Now, with the layer mask selected, we activate the brush tool either by pressing B on the keyboard or clicking its icon on the toolbar. And just remember that there are options for the brush tool and we want to have the top one selected. Down here in our color picker, we want to make sure that our default colors are displayed, black in the foreground and white in the background. If they're not, we can just press the letter D on the keyboard to bring the default colors back up, and then we can press X to toggle back and forth between them. So for right now I'm going to keep black in the foreground and white in the background. Now with the layer mask selected in the layers panel, the brush tool activated, and black in the foreground, I'm going to use the brush to paint with black directly onto the layer mask. And what that's going to do is hide the pixels on that layer. I'm essentially just kind of brushing them out so they're invisible. All right. Now, let's say as I'm getting closer to the Aston Martin, I make a similar mistake and drag my brush across the car, and so I cut out a big chunk of the hood. All I have to do to fix that mistake is to come back to my color picker, switch between the foreground and background color so the white is in the foreground, and I'm now using my brush tool to paint with white, and paint those pixels back into the mask. And I can do this at any point. I can do this hours later. I can do this the next day. I'm not limited by the numbers of steps I can go back in the history in order to fix that error. All right. So again, I want to work slowly and carefully, but if I do make a mistake, I am able to repair it relatively easily. And that is how you use the brush tool and a layer mask to hide parts of a layer and reveal what's underneath.